Let's see what advice Professor Samson Mamphweli from the Sustainable Energy Studies Department at Stellenbosch University could possibly offer. Prof, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. Given that we know Gwede Mantashe's stance on keeping coal and the President's stance on the just energy transition and the many promises and relationships we've gotten into with other nations, how do you perceive, or what kind of advice would you then maybe give to the South African government in terms of where to go with this energy stabilization project?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. So I've studied the ANC's policy position on energy. And you can find that on page 145 and 146 of the policy document that emanated from the ANC policy conference, which is basically what gets discussed at the national conference. And in most cases, what we have seen is that such policies that were forwarded to the national conference, normally they don't change that much. And if you look at that particular policy position or proposition, it reaffirms the integrated resource plan as the country's plan when it comes to energy issues and the electricity sector. And the IRP itself talks about an energy mix that includes a share of coal, a share of renewable energy, gas, nuclear, pumped storage, and other energy sources, and it is based on the least cost technology. Basically, the least cost technology takes the share of the supply of electricity. So Minister Mantashe is partly right when actually he's right when he says coal is here to stay because there is no plan for decommissioning all coal power stations. And the President also mentioned this during his opening address, which I listened to very carefully, that we're calling for a just energy transition. So there will be a transition that is properly managed. And the policy document also spends a lot of time discussing how the just energy transition should look like. So there is that part, and also there is the part of the integrated resource plan. They also touch on the national development, on the NDP. That also talks to the decarbonization of the electricity sector, and that's quite important because, for instance, there are goods that we export to Europe, and some of the European countries have said that they will look at the energy source before they can accept our goods. So we will have to pay a little bit more if we producing these goods from fossil fuels technologies, and we will have to pay less or nothing if we produce it from renewable energy. Eskom has in the past started piloting selling renewable energy to particular industries that export their products overseas, so that they can take advantage of the tax breaks that comes with that. So in terms of what the minister should be doing, in my view, is to basically rally people behind the integrated resource plan, because that particular plan goes through a public participation process. It ends up with NEDLEC, which is the government and social partners. They agree on what needs to be done. As things stand, the IRP is being revised, and the Minister of Energy and of Mineral Resources and Energy is the custodian of that particular document.
Prof, then there's this element, right? Well, we are still figuring out what to do, guided by policy, guided by all of these documents that are available. Right now, we're faced with an energy crisis. There's no electricity. Someone is not able to see this conversation and get the relevant information that they need because there's no electricity. Then we're made to understand that there's sabotage at Eskom, hence the need for the military, as we speak, to be stationed at some power stations. What do you know, at least, or have you seen a report that speaks to that? the extent of this sabotage, why this would warrant the military to actually be at these particular stations. Right now, we are faced with a story where one of our reporters is in Emalahleni, rather, where the Hawks say they've arrested 3 people, allegedly because they are selling substandard coal or they are mixing coal with stones. And then the quarry owner who, well, he's renting at that property, he's completely denying this, saying Eskom is not even his market. And so just trying to connect the dots and trying to figure out this extent of sabotage, who is behind it, what is it? Is there anything that you know about it?
So I haven't seen a particular report talking about this, except picking up things from the media and also talking to Eskom people. It appears that such kind of sabotage does happen, and it's both political to put pressure on Eskom executives and the current president. And it's also commercial. There are people who've got commercial interests in what happens at Eskom, because when they cause these breakdowns, they then get contracted to fix some of these power stations. They collude with some of the Eskom rotten apples. So I've heard of those kind of things. I've had discussions with some of the forensic investigators who were employed by Eskom, without mentioning names and or companies. And some of those forensic investigators said to me that, yes, this sabotage is real and it's quite sophisticated. So the fact that the military has been deployed, in my view, the military can do patrols and things like that. They may not necessarily know exactly when somebody is sabotaging an Eskom power station by switching off something or by causing some kind of explosion or things like that, which are some of the things that we've seen in the past. But the mere presence of the military could serve as a deterrent to would-be criminals who may want to tamper with the Eskom systems. The Hawks and the forensic investigators are the people that will then have to do the work in terms of investigating exactly what is happening inside Eskom. So what I've said in the past was every single breakdown or every single failure should be treated suspiciously, and before it gets fixed, there must be a thorough forensic investigation around that particular breakdown, which is what Eskom is starting to do now. They've started putting together some resources to ensure that each and every breakdown is thoroughly investigated and people can then be held responsible.
Professor Samson Mamphweli, Sustainable Energy Studies at Stellenbosch University. Thank you.